as we say goodbye to 2025 and welcome 2026. And with that, there is the opportunity for renewal, for that repurposing, that turning of a leaf. Even though it's a day and it's symbolic, it's just a day that we turn on the calendar. I believe it is symbolic, and it's a chance for us to just start afresh and take it day by day, step by step. 2025 was one for the record books. So much would have transpired in this calendar year. We had a general election. There was a change of administration, not only here in Trinidad and Tobago, but we also saw a change in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We had major elections, of course, in St. Lucia. Obviously, we look at what's happening on the international stage. Early 2025, in January, that is, Donald Trump came into the fold. He went up there to Washington and declared his particular mandate, and we are seeing it play out in real time. There's lots happening across the world. That Ukraine-Russia scenario is still very much in the mix, and they're trying to work that out as we speak. We saw the very worst of that Middle East war with Israel and Palestine, and there was so much as we look back on 2025 in terms of natural disasters and natural phenomenons. It started off in a really hot way out there in the west coast of the U.S. and California with the record fire. We remember that well. We bring it home locally with Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica and what transpired a couple months ago and the devastation we saw to Jamaica's southwestern coast and to the north, where is, well, as we know, that part of Jamaica is the tourist mainstay, the hub, and they're still, as we speak, going through their recovery. There is so much to unpack in 2025, and we're going to try our very best in the next hour to do our own analysis. We will do the review as it relates to crime and how we are trying to treat with that scourge that continues to plague the society. We're going to treat with the economy this morning. We will treat with sports, and we will treat with all the other major talking points as we look back on the year that was 2025, and we get ready for 2026. I see a boy come out in the New Year's clothes. Yes? What you mean? You don't pull out this jacket every day, no? You wear this once a year. And you wear it for all years into New Year's TNT. I want to say sincere greetings, all the best, love, blessings, more life, more success. Even though we're going into uncertain times, the economic climate is not the greatest at this point in time, but this lawless dump, oh, I love it. This is home. This is home, Trinidad and Tobago, and I are going anywhere, and we collectively, I believe, sincerely, once we love our country, we want the very best for it. So we will try our greatest to do that, and I think the change and that particular mandate starts with us. Before we look at government and any public official, we need to do what's right, and doing the right thing is doing it when people are not looking. So that's the mandate. I hope we could really turn that corner in 2026 and bring home a better, sweet TNT. Let's head to the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian on this beautiful All Year's Day, Wednesday, the 31st of December, 2025. And as we end off the year, it's a sad story here with the fireman, the fire officer, killed close to home, kidnapped firefighter, murdered, body dumped not too far from his Arima house. And he went through, I think, a robbery at the said house during the course of this year. We don't know the circumstance and the backstory to this most tragic situation, but we send condolences indeed to the family and to all those in the fire service. I know he will get, as per usual, when it comes to the death of any public official, a grand send-off, but, you know, as we say, gone too soon. These are folks who are in the prime of their life, man in his 40s, you know. No one deserves to go in such a manner. We look at another development, cabinet approval needed to regularize HDC squatters. That's the Minister of Housing. We'll treat with that next year. That's a major development where they're looking to regularize squatters and you know, I guess bring a ease, as it were. So we will treat with that into the new year. Of course, we're looking at, well, the back page. Let me get to that immediately because my good friend Ian Wason will step in. for the last part of the program for us to go through the year in sport 2025. And that's my beloved Arsenal with a big win yesterday, a statement win, 4-1 over Aston Villa, who kind of had our number for the last couple of years. They beat us just recently. So I myself was watching the game and I was a bit nervous, to be quite honest, because we have been so close for so many years and were never really able to get over the line. But I hope and trust that 2026 will be the year for us. So all Arsenal fans, we have waited a long time and we're looking good, and let's keep this momentum going into 2026. As I go to the brief on this earliest day, oh yes, go down low. That is what we're talking about. Fet lovers show off their dance, Duck the Walk dance, a Dev with a big song for Carnival 2026. And this took place last Sunday at Skinner Park in San Fernando. Already party start, Fetting start. Yes, that is it. People moving and grooving. The next couple of weeks is going to be some serious action as we welcome Carnival 2026. That's how we always start the year, on that particular note. And then when Carnival is over, we kind of settle back into the natural order. With that being said, all the best, Trinidad and Tobago, to all our supporters, those who view the program from far beyond the shores, all over the region, all over the world. Thank you for the continued support. We will try our very best to be our best going into 2026, asking the questions, holding those in the driver's seat accountable, and always treating with the solution as opposed to harping on the actual problem. Our segments will continue next year, and by all means, sincere thanks for being a part of it, and we always take your recommendations. We look forward to that continued conversation next year. See you after the break. We come back and treat with the year in review as it pertains to crime and criminality. That conversation up next.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Rome, this ham thing is really getting out of hand now.
Why?
Yes, it's great foods, but I think I'm greater.
Greater than a great food, Sam? Nah.
Yes, it's either me or the ham.
Great Foods, the name says it all.
Ah, Christmas, the season of love, laughter, and just a little bit of chaos. Sometimes the ham has other plans, and sometimes you just need to call Granny. Digital Postpaid Family Plan keeps the family connected. Now everybody can be in the Christmas line near or far, starting at $500 for 2 new postpaid customers. Get 200 gigabytes of data plus 1,000 anywhere minutes to share more of those festive vibes that make the season brighter. Because at the end of the day, Christmas isn't about perfection, it's about real connection. With Digicel.
Make home yours every day with Courts. Oh yeah. Oh. Get value for your money. Courts have the best quality. Home is what you make it. Best prices and good credit. Courts have it all.
Courts has what you need to make home yours. You can get it all with easy payment plans using Courts Ready Finance. Courts, make home yours.
Criminologist Dr. Randy C. Prasad joins me on the Zoom line this morning to treat with the year in review as it pertains to crime and criminality. Let me firstly extend Happy New Year to you and yours, Dr.
Same to you. Same to you, and thank you for having me this morning.
You know, it will be such a beautiful a day that we could do a year in review and don't have to even mention crime. I don't know if that's anything in the immediate future, but nonetheless, we treat with the reality of the day. Our lived reality is that crime is still here. We tend to gauge crime in Trinidad based on the murder rate, but it's more than just that. It's so many different, as I always say, multiple limbs of consideration when we treat with crime and criminality. But let's start right there. Clearly, the 600 plus we saw in 2024, that's not the reality in 2025. Would you say through your criminologist lens, is that a little win for crime fighters?
I would go beyond that and say that it's actually a big win. In fact, just this morning I had a look at the TTPS website, and I looked at some of the crime statistics. And whether you look at burglaries, robberies, sexual offenses, murders, of course, you're seeing a decline across the board in 2025 relative to 2024. And the declines are not small declines. They're, in fact, substantial declines. So you would know, for instance, that the Ministry of Homeland Security reported about 358 murders, up to late December 2025, which represents more than a 40% decline from the number in 2024. So that's not, in fact, a little win. That's, a very, very big win in a very short space of time. And of course, when you look at the landscape in terms of what is happening in the criminal justice system infrastructure, you look at some of the changes that are being made and being made very, very quickly. In fact, just one that I would mention for now, for instance, splitting up the task of, administering the security infrastructure in the country into the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Homeland Security. It really makes the system much more manageable, because you're saying each ministry responsible for a much more specific portfolio, and it really does help with manageability. And you're seeing things happening in the landscape. For instance, stand your ground legislation coming into being in a very short space of time, and of course a very important part, of the fight against crime. You're seeing, for instance, talks with the UN when it comes to the public health approach and what is to be done in the country to tackle the root causes of crime. You're seeing shifts in the administration of the TTPS, etc. So there's a lot that is happening in a very short space of time. There are also things that are still, yet to come. You're hearing things about, and from good sources, victims' rights, bills on victims' rights. Victims have long been excluded. You're hearing work on noise pollution, for instance. All of these kinds of things are happening, and in a very, very short space of time. So really, I sense, and the crime statistics support it, that we have a lot of reasons for hope when it comes to the crime situation.
Indeed, in all fairness, yes, the new administration, there seems to be a more serious and more targeted approach, and we're seeing in real time different programs and, laws rolling out to assist in that regard. I want to ask, is there any correlation between the deduction, the stats, because I know many look at the numbers, is there a correlation between that decline that you just mentioned and the state of emergency we are on? This was a year for two state of emergencies. We had one earlier this year, and now we are on the second installment of a state of emergency under the new administration. Give me that correlation between the state of emergency and that decline.
So you're absolutely right. The state of emergency is resulting in a decline in crimes across the board, not just murders, of course. That's the one that's most visible and the one that you see spoken about most often. And it's no surprise there, because one of the things that it does is that it creates a greater deterrent effect. You're also able to detain persons of interest, meaning persons that you have credible intelligence that they are engaged in or they are responsible for, directly or indirectly, some level of criminality. And when you pull these people off the streets, you detain them, what you will really create is a suppressive effect on the crime numbers. Now, I'm very happy to say, as I mentioned before, that while the state of emergency can do that, and while I've always maintained that certainly it's not a long-term solution, in fact, that it doesn't get at the root causes of the crime situation, as I mentioned a little while ago, the new government is very, very much concerned about the root causes of criminality. Right? I mentioned the conversations with the UN and several UN-related agencies in trying to identify some of the core drivers when it comes to the root causes of crime and criminality. I'm also very happy to report as well that this particular government has engaged and expressed a very strong willingness to work together with the University of the West Indies to try to help, generate solutions to the crime situation. And that kind of, reaching out is something that I haven't seen to that extent before. All right, so I'll give you just one simple example. Just very recently, in fact, this semester, the Faculty of Social Sciences at the UWI hosted what we call an academic industry exchange meeting. And one of the panels of that meeting was a panel between several criminologists at the university and several members of the TTPS, where we discussed challenges in the crime solution, in the crime situation, and try to develop solutions. And we've been invited, of course, to discuss further and collaborate with the Ministry of Homeland Security, with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So, I'm sensing that shift. I'm actually seeing it happening, where we are moving towards trying to get a hold of the root causes. You're seeing it happening in little ways. You're seeing, for instance, police in schools.
Well, let me interject, and we'll get into the school part of it and the shift we have seen there, and that also is bringing a particular result based on what we're hearing from the TTPS. But let me ask, people's lived reality going into 2026 with the cutting of certain social programs and the unemployment that is ripe in the country, how does that now, based on all the conversations and the lack of equity and the people who are really on that back end of not having an income, that sustainable income, how do we treat with those folks and ensure that they don't go down the wrong road to try to make the ends meet?
Right, and I'm so glad that you raised that, because one of the sore points, I know that there have been some re-examination of certain programs that really help to create a bit of a social network, if you want to put it that way. Programs like CPEP and URP, but we have to move, very quickly with those programs. While we're trying to reduce corruption and revamp those things, we have to get them back on stream, so you can actually try to provide, employment for persons who need that kind of temporary employment to create that social safety net. And, the bigger issue, as you said, has to do with the level of unemployment. And, very interestingly, that was one of the biggest factors identified in the research that was recently conducted by the United Nations and shared with the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the talks which they held very, very recently. So this is something that we need to become very, very creative of, in terms of really stimulating the economy. Foreign exchange is just one dimension of it, but we need to figure out how do we build that entrepreneurial, ethos in the community. How do we create opportunities, especially in impoverished communities, where the opportunities and the access, to those kinds of economic opportunities is far less than in some other areas of the country.
Dr. Sipasad, before we get back to the schools and the youth, because I think that's very important, let me ask, as it pertains to the regional geopolitical dance that's happening and the installation of a radar, and many within government making that link between the radar and certain drug busts and drug hauls. So we know our issues with the border. It's been so for many years. It's not a recent phenomenon. Is there any empirical evidence, any data through your criminologist lens that could link the radar and the U.S. installation in the region, the blowing up of the boats by the Trump administration, to a reduction in drug running and gun running and folks bringing illegal contraband through the open borders?
So, I will be honest in that I haven't seen empirical data that actually supports that. I'm not saying that putting a system like that in place wouldn't have such an effect. In fact, I suspect that it would have an effect. When you think of our porous borders and you look at the inflow of firearms, etc. When I in fact looked at, the firearm arrests, I looked at firearm seizures for 2025 compared to previous years, and I haven't really actually seen a decline in the statistics. So at least those statistics suggest that the presence of the United States in Caribbean waters may not have such a big impact on those things as we think that they might. But again, I want to caution that the stats that we sometimes see might represent only the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, in that these kinds of clandestine maritime and air operations which move drugs and which move firearms are very, very difficult to detect. And as such, when we see these statistics, they may not necessarily be a true reflection of what is actually happening. And it's a very interesting question that you have asked. The bottom line for me is that I think that the U.S. presence could have a suppressive effect, but I haven't seen hard data as yet to really substantiate that properly.
Indeed. Keep us in the loop in 2026. Let's go back to that statement you made earlier. You're going to expand on the police intervention in certain schools that are deemed sensitive, troubled schools. Walk me through, via your lens, the impact of that, and if that intervention, that kind of interaction with the young people could bring about a 180, could bring about a change in some of these schools that clearly have been in the news for sometimes the wrong reason. Right. So,
from the feedback I've gotten, and I've gotten feedback from schools themselves, from teachers in schools, from deans in schools, etc., and the feedback has actually been, very positive. Initially I had some bit of skepticism about that particular initiative, because it felt to me, at least when it was brought on, that perhaps that was a bit of an extreme measure, because you tend to think of engaging law enforcement more when it comes to adults. I'm not saying it's not applicable for younger persons or shouldn't be used, but it's the last resort, so to speak. But one of the things that I've been very, very pleased to hear coming from the schools is that the police officers who've been placed there, they definitely have the level of training that allows them to interact with the staff and students in a way, that's very supportive, that's very much more on the community policing-oriented side of things, rather than that kind of tough law enforcement type of approach. So you're saying it's a system that is supportive. You have extra eyes on the ground. For instance, I had a report just a couple of days ago of the police officers actually being able to sit and put the manpower in when it comes to surveilling the CCTV footage camera in school, surveillance in schools, so that they could actually detect the perpetrators of offenses when they happen. And it has taken a lot of the burden of some of those things off of the teachers and the deans and so forth. And it has actually created close partnerships and bonds between the police officers and the students. And you're seeing sharp declines, in fact, in the level of violence happening in schools. You're also hearing cases of some students from schools, based on what is happening and offenses detected, being diverted into other programs like Serval, MyLat, etc. So it seems so far from the feedback that I've gotten to be something that is very positive, and I understand that that program, at least there's a call for it, I'm hearing, to be expanded to other schools that have not been fortunate enough to receive police officers.
You know, the Prime Minister recently, Dr. Sipasad, mentioned that we are a lawless dump. Well, I rebuke the dump part of that argument. I don't think we live here and this is not a dump. It's an island, twin island state with great potential. But let's zoom out from it a bit like a drone and look at Trinidad and Tobago. The holistic experience. Are we indeed lawless when we consider how we treat with the roads, how we treat with just law in Trinidad and Tobago? I mean, you're a well-traveled man, I'm sure, compared to other parts of the world. When we zoom out and look in, are we well, not a dumb, but are we a lawless society?
All right. I wouldn't want to characterize our country in that way. And this is maybe my personal opinion, but I always think of Trinidad and Tobago as home. I think of it as a paradise. I think of it as a blessing. And I think, yes, of course, the crime situation is far worse than I think we deserve. But at the same time, when we do look at the crime statistics, it still is the case that the vast majority of crimes are committed by just a small number of persons, right? A very small portion of persons in the society. So it means that, by and large, the average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago is law-abiding. I'm not saying that we don't do things that, could be considered lawless or really, things that we shouldn't do. For instance, let's say the traffic situation. Every day you drive on the roads, you will see people weaving in and out, people speeding, you will see people breaking red lights. Certainly those things are lawless and certainly they are dangerous. And it's no wonder that the traffic fines have gone up, and which, by the way, I'm in support of, while I do hear the dissenting voices and I do understand where they're coming from. But I think part and parcel of it, and again, this is just my 2 cents on it, I feel that we have to see the positive. There's so much beauty and so much good and so much in Trinidad and Tobago that I think we have to be really, really thankful of. Yeah. If you are aware of what is happening in many, many parts of the world, Trinidad and Tobago is surely a paradise in comparison. So I think I would always like to see the glass as half full. I think we have to see it as something that has the potential to be beautiful and amazing and even potentially as crime-free as possible. And I think we are making some significant steps in that direction.
Let me ask you, Dr. Sipasad, before we wrap things up today, those who are those who are responsible for holding the law and upkeeping the law and maintaining the order, the TTPS, they went through what was quite clearly drama this year with, at the time, the arrest and the unceremonial removal, as it were, of our good friend here on screen, Erla, here with Christopher. What kind of impact did that do to the service? Did it damage their image in any way? Obviously, we saw after a new commissioner and that particular ceremony, but when that particular drama was happening, did it make any kind of serious dent in the image, and does it linger today? Do people remember that scenario?
I think people remember it, and at the point in time, it did capture the national attention. For me, one of the things that it would highlight is that the TTPS is on the ball, and if there is the assumption that something may have gone wrong, even at the level of somebody as senior as a commissioner of police, that something would have been done. I think, all in all, notwithstanding the drama surrounding the situation, that is something that I would at least see in a positive light. It means that nobody, and I'm not casting any aspersions, to Commissioner Christopher at all in terms of right or wrongdoing or anything like that. But for me, it signals that you could reach the very highest level, and yet you have to be accountable. So in the end, I see that as something positive, regardless of the outcome of that particular situation, regardless of innocence or guilt in the situation, it highlights for me that accountability and transparency is something that is important to the TTPS, and they took action where they thought it was necessary.
As we wrap things up, Dr. C. Prasad, let's consider some strategies going into 2026, workable and result-driven policies that could work for us in 2026.
Right. So there is a lot that needs to be done. We need to look at the TTPS. We need to look at border security. We need to look at the youths, not just in schools, but also in communities. We need to look at the families. You very rightly pointed to the joblessness situation, which is still a very serious issue in the country, the foreign exchange situation. These are just some of the many, many problems. And my suggestion is that we take tangible steps. They could be tangible, small steps, but we take the steps. And this is what I'm seeing happening. So the simple example of putting police officers in schools, year after year after year, you've been hearing, talk about the youths, but you're not seeing action. So putting the police officers in schools, but selecting them properly, training them properly, so that they interface, in a way that builds resilience for the youths, etc. That is a tangible step. Engaging the United Nations with talks on the root causes of crime, that's a tangible step, and it points you to things that could be done and should be done. So what I'm saying is the solutions are there. That is not rocket science at all. The criminological literature is already replete with the solutions. What matters is that we put in the effort, we put in the resources. I know that's a problem. Finances is always a problem at a national level, but we put in the effort, we put in the resources. I'm so far seeing a lot of resolve when it comes to tackling the crime situation, and we are already seeing the results. And for me, that is cause for a lot of hope. And I'm seeing a lot of good things happening, a lot of good things that are being planned. For instance, just a couple of days ago, I remember Minister Devish Maharaj mentioning new legislation, intended legislation for victims of crime. Well, year after year, we've been talking of victims of crime. You're not seeing anything happening when it comes to victims' rights, etc. Yeah. Now you're hearing about the legislation.
Important.
So yes, do things. That is what I'm saying. Well, even if it's baby steps, do what is necessary.
Well, in that regard, we'll definitely expand in 2026 on some of these talking points. I want to thank you for the great conversations we had in 2025. Sincere blessings and best wishes to you and the family. And I look forward to more of this kind of discussion next year. All the best. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you and the national public. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
You're most welcome. Dr. Randy C. Prasad touching base. Up next, we do the year that was via the politics. Oh my goodness, we could spend all morning. There was so much that took place. Derek Ramsamouche, political scientist, joins me next.
At Guardian General Insurance, we know your home is more than just a building. It's where your family feels safe and where memories are made. That's why we're here to protect not just your house, but the people and dreams inside it. We are your partner, working alongside you to provide the right protection, the right support, and the peace of mind you deserve. With Guardian General Insurance, you can live safe, live easy.
Into the delicious quality delights you know and love. Devon Creams. Smiles in every bite.
A mortgage is what helps you turn your dream of owning a home into reality. First Citizens helps you plan for every other cost, such as insurance, maintenance, and utilities. Mortgages build equity, offer long-term investment, and give you freedom to make the space yours. First Citizens is here to help you understand your first steps to a mortgage. First Citizens.
When the job gets tough, you need energy that lasts. When the night gets long and the deadlines are close, you need energy that sharpens your mind.
4:20 in the morning, my baby is called and she tell me she want to know, girl. Yeah! This is your Ragamafukuta representative for Angus Tour 420, a premium rum drink. 420, rough wine, balance on it, drink a 420, relax a bit. 420 we drinking, I tell you 420 we drinking. Rough wine, balance on it, drink a 420, relax a bit. 420 we drinking, 420, yeah.
Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. That should big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Sumitomo, Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Couva, Chaguanas, and Pleasance Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
Deck the halls with kaleidoscope colors. Fa la 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 la. Fill your home with joy and wonder. Fa la 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 la. La 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 la.
Bring joy to your world this Christmas with Kaleidoscope Paints.
Let me go.
Political analyst Derek Ramsamouche joins me on the Zoom line this morning. Let me extend New Year greetings to you, Mr. Ramsamouche. Always a pleasure. We've had great discussions in 2025, and I look forward to even more in 2026. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. I wish all your viewers a very successful and blessed 2026.
We turned the calendar just about a year ago with 2025 in focus, and we knew that there was going to be an election. It was constitutionally due in 2025, and I guess the first sign that something was happening, there was a movement happened on March 16th when the then Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, announced his resignation. He was hinting it in Parliament, and there were the whispers in the corridors, but it became official. And then Stuart Young stepped into office the next day, March 17th. What's your take on that particular development and the subsequent short stint, the most, I would say, in terms of a prime ministerial role and position, Stuart Young really, when we go back through the history books, the shortest run thus far. Your take on that development and the subsequent loss by the People's National Movement at the polls?
What we witnessed in 2025 was the society yearning for some sort of political change, and the challenges of actually achieving that change, not only inside of the PNM, but also inside of the electorate, where people were yearning for something politically different. However, that perspective of fighting political change clashed with the general ethos of our traditional voting behavior and expectation. This is the challenge of 2025, is can you implement a political change and a change of this structure of governance, both within the political parties as well as within the national public?
Indeed. And when we consider the transition, we'll stay with the former Prime Minister there who's on screen, Stuart Young, who's, again, stint, it was the shortest. Many looked at that particular moment as a pivotal moment. Then we saw, after the election loss, a total change in terms of the hierarchy. Do you think that transition still remains? When you look at it through your political lens, is it that PNM, they're still trying to find their way during this time of renewal, as it were?
The PNM at this point in time must recognize the political challenge they feel. We are experiencing the traditional behavior pattern of 50-odd years, of where one group in the society belongs and the PNM is all their property and no one else's. And we saw Dr. Williams bringing about some changes that led to even where Dr. Rowley is trying to implement the changes of making the PNM national in scope, not just when it comes to electoral politics, but in terms of leadership. We had that problem where Kamaluddin Mohammed perceived as a political leader, and the PNM have yet to make a transition to a different ethnic type of leader. Dr. Rowley initiated that type of behavior, but that was not met with success because the traditional MPs, so to speak, believe that the PNM is only their political right based on ethnicity.
Do you think part of it was also to do with the years of tenure? I mean, yes, ethnicity plays a role in the politics. There's no denying that. But I wonder if those who would have been in the party for 20 plus, close to 30 years, might have had an issue with someone who would have been just on the scene for about 10 years, as opposed to those who would have spent more years in the vineyards. And most people in politics, they want that top spot. It's an internal fight. We know some of the greatest fights you will get is within the walls of your own party. So did you take any consideration into the length of years, the tenure of some compared to Stuart Young, who would have been there for just 10 years?
And this is a challenge we face with the governance structure. It cannot be based on tenure. It must be based on your own personal integrity and the public trust of you to manage the challenges of governance. Not because you've served 10 years, so that does that give you the right to manage an evolving society and an evolving country. And I think that is what is needed, as we can see, that we need to have leadership that can meet the rigorous demand of a society that is going through a process of evolution, not just economic evolution, but that of social integration as well. And while experience is important, being open to new ways of managing your society is what is needed. Because people want a change. They do not wish to have an exchange. They do not wish to have the same challenges of a social agenda, like, for example, housing, education, healthcare, law and order. They want you to do things differently and deliver a result in the shortest possible time.
Well, you know, the nation indeed embraced the change on April 28th, and they reinstalled the United National Congress and the Coalition of Interests with a decisive and overwhelming victory, winning 26 of the 41 seats. Granted, the personality at the helm, who is now Prime Minister, is someone the nation would have known from before, so there was no change per se in the leadership, and the Prime Minister who's on screen would have shown great resilience through all the adversity and all the political blows she received when she was in opposition. So she stood firm and she was able to go over the line in a convincing way. Your take on the Prime Minister's performance thus far and that victory from then to now?
Let's be clear. Her performance would indeed be tested in the next quarter of Trinidad and Tobago's economy. By March next year, April next year, the cash flow situation will become a reality. Whether she has the capacity to deliver will be severely questioned. You must have the notion of some level of public trust, your own personal integrity, your capacity to deliver better goods and services to the population. We all must accept the fact that every incoming government will use the situation of a lack of money for failure to deliver. But that was what you were elected for. Everyone in this society knew that there was an economic and a financial cash flow problem. So that will not be able to be used as an excuse. You have to manage your resources. And let's be clear, over the last 25 years, we have had almost every budgetary year a deficit when it comes to our budget financing. So deficit financing is a accepted tool in terms of managing your country. It is how you use your resources to deliver a different type of goods and services. Therefore, the country will give her X number of months as a holiday period, a honeymoon period, but you made certain promises that you knew fully well. Political slogans may influence the decision of a campaign. However, political slogans may not bring the kind of governance that is needed. And we must recognize how you run a political campaign is not how you govern a society. So the politics of disruption, of putting out public statements to get the media pursuing a particular pathway, will not give you the monies necessarily to develop our society.
Well, as you mentioned, putting out messages, many are looking at her style and making comparisons to Donald Trump, President of the U.S. They're calling the Prime Minister's style a Trumpian approach to governance, where this TNT first, same way we heard with Donald Trump with America first approach, this kind of isolationist style, as it were, with certain utterances towards our CARICOM neighbors, certain major announcements not being done via post-cabinet meetings, but being done via social media. Your take on her new style, because she said this time around it's a different Kamala. It's not the Kamala of old, it's 2.0, and clearly this is a more iron fist, more stern approach we're seeing from the Prime Minister.
I believe that's just slogan politics that is at work, and I believe that's a leftover of the political campaign. The electorate in Trinidad will, at some point in time, become politically disgusted by this type of politics when they realize you have to govern the society, when you have to manage the debt situation, when you have to find monies for the infrastructure, when you have got to basically find monies to move people from the poverty line. And let's be clear, sloganism does not necessarily give you the financial resources and the negotiated skill sets to manage an evolving society.
Let me ask, as you mentioned statements and slogans, do you think some of the utterances from the Prime Minister and even some of her ministers, whether it's in Parliament, answering the media, even some of the social media posts we're seeing via the written word or people holding up a camera to their face and expressing stuff that is less than complimentary towards citizens and the country itself, could this be problematic for the Prime Minister going forward? Some of the utterances we are seeing and hearing.
If we look at the leadership style of Kamala Persad-Bissessar in her first administration, ministers becoming political collateral, if they become a political liability, will occur. So perhaps in the next 6 months of next year, we will see the Minister of Finance under severe public scrutiny of not being able to find the resources. So we must recognize that moving the country economically is important to keeping stability. We'll also perhaps see the Minister of Homeland Security in his quest to deal with crime may need to change his style. If not, in next year, both Minister of Finance and Minister of Homeland Security may be your first two political casualties as you fail to deliver to the satisfaction of the electorate.
Interesting prediction. So you anticipate that someone will bite the dust next year. We just don't know when and who. But you anticipate there will be a removal of some significant player in 2026.
The biting of the political dust by cabinet ministers will be one of the methods the Prime Minister must utilize to keep her legitimacy and political control, both in the cabinet as well as with the legislative agenda.
Well, she did say this year that she will, quote, bust your head if you step out of line. We will see how things pan out. Let's transition to Tobago for a few before we probably end off with Trinidad. We are seeing in real time campaigning on the ground there, all eyes set on January 12th. And we've seen recently Watson Duke coming back to the fold to give a big endorsement to the TPP. They seem to be going forward, full steam ahead, and the PNM, again, trying to bring back a level of prominence in the Tobago space, and all the other players trying to put in their bid. What's your take on what's happening in Tobago? That's going to be the first big political story of 2026.
To quote the words of a famous calypsonian of Tobago ancestry, poverty is hell. And when poverty is hell becomes a reality, political prostitution and opportunism becomes the reality. And that is what we are witnessing in Tobago. Whether you're dealing with personalities, whether you're dealing with the whole notion of greater autonomy, whether you're dealing with the notion of leadership trying to sustain themselves, they all appear to be fighting the words of poverty is hell. And that therefore has created the opportunity, because in Tobago, it's about money, it's about employment, it's about the THA being the singular largest employer. And therefore, Tobago will either reflect the capacity of the PNM to rebel in Tobago, or a blame game if the PNM fails to win the THA, and that could have consequences for the political leader Penny Beckers, as the case may be, as well as whether or not the UNC basically influences and run Tobago directly, not indirectly, directly, because we're seeing the arguments now of where does the autonomy of the THA starts and ends versus the autonomy of Trinidad and Tobago as a sovereign state.
Indeed. Let's look at the geopolitical scenario and where do we stand going into 2026, the tensions with CARICOM, our clear alignment with the U.S. Against our neighbor, Venezuela. Clearly, we are seeing in real time that the conversation is moving away from narco-terrorism and getting rid of drug runners to regime change. And if indeed that takes place, do you think the gamble that the Prime Minister is taking will pay off?
I believe she is playing a high-risk poker game. And at this point in time, the only state that stands to lose is Trinidad and Tobago. There is nothing to prevent the state of Venezuela to get into some sort of arrangement with U.S. corporations with respect to their energy sector. So we have taken a risk that may leave us out of a financial benefit when it comes to the energy sector. Regime change is not that of removing President Maduro. We must recognize who are the game players behind President Maduro, such as Vice President Minister of Energy, Delcy Rodriguez. We must understand the power structure within Venezuela, the role of the military, and the role of PDVSA. So these are the influencers. Remember, it's 25 years they have now been in office, and we must recognize that what they did to remove two established political entities, AD and COPI, prior to that of Chavez emerging. So there's a lot of history and emotional connectivity to Simon Bolivar with the Bolivarian Revolution. So we have to understand the psychology of the Venezuelan society. We also have an emerging conflict in Haiti with respect to February 6th is when the present government in Haiti must come to an end. And there has been no process for further democratic electoral elections. So there's a level of challenges in CARICOM when it comes to the electoral system, democracy, and new leadership.
In the 30 seconds that remain, just a word of advice to all those who hold high office. If you can speak to them directly this morning as to what's expected of them as it pertains to Trinidad and Tobago in 2026 and beyond.
You are the temporary holder of a position offered to you to improve the quality of life. Recognize the messages of 1986 when the NAR got into office, and economic transformation was needed. But if you do not speak clearly to the population and you have been caught being anything but honest, you will pay a political price.
Derek Ramsamouche, sincere thanks for our conversation this morning. I look forward to more in 2026. Happy New Year to you and the family.
Happy New Year to the population of Trinidad and Tobago and yourself.
Thank you so much. Yes, I mean, some quite interesting predictions there. I mean, Mr. Ramsamouche talked like he was, there's a crystal ball, and he's telling you in real time what will transpire next year. Let's see how things pan out. By all means, great first hour. We get into the economic year in review and the sporting year in review. We continue with our look back on the year that was, 2025, after our news update at 7.
Wake up, we know you ain't sleeping. Neighbor, don't mind we ain't talking. I wish you a Merry Christmas morning. Neighbor, just come out and meet we. Come on, let we drink up and be happy. Neighbor.
Step into the new year with style and comfort with JD's exclusive unbeatable fashions for going back to work at unbelievable prices. Plus all the accessories. JD's exclusive, Princestown, San Fernando, Rio Claro, Gasparilla Mall, and M6 Plaza Chaguanas. Your low price headquarters, JD's.
Level up your home this Christmas at Arima Door Center. Grab a chandelier for $900 or LED bathroom mirror just $700. Purchase a stylish vanity for $1,750. We're at number 4 Cleaver Road, Arima. Open every day, including Sundays. Call us at 642-3509 today.
Good morning, I'm Akash Samaru with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. The family of 8-year-old Gideon Smart, struck by a runaway truck on Monday, say they are not upset with the driver, though they say they expect an apology. Smart was sitting on an exercise machine around 3 p.m. when the driver lost control of the truck, veered into the family's Savannah Road Aruka home, and slammed into the little boy. His 11-year-old brother luckily escaped. Smart's uncle, Omar McIntyre, says it's not going to be a good new year without him, recalling how he'd sing to him whenever he saw him. McIntyre believes the driver, who is still in police custody, should have better known how to control the vehicle.
I drive myself, my little brother, he drive himself, coming down here. You see 2 children, you pull where the 2 children is. Look at all these vehicles here to mash up. It are all them vehicles anywhere to mash up. Why run in the yard where you see 2 children? Gideon live his life. And if that was where he was supposed to go through, that is how God put it. We can't say that way he was to go through. You understand? If he was to be living still, he'd be living today. He might have a break foot, a break hand, but he'd be living still. But he time did reach. So you can't vex with God for that. And you can't vex with nobody. I ain't even vex with the driver. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, he tried his best.
2 men were killed in a crash along the southern main road in Couva on Monday evening. They have been identified as 40-year-old prison officer Karen Prime and 38-year-old Darren Lewis, proprietor of Spot On Car Wash in Chase Village. The deadly accident happened just before midnight near Bukhara Village and involved at least 4 vehicles. Lewis was driving a Mazda 3 while Prime was in a Nissan Tida when the collision occurred. Prime's parents, Nathaniel and Lynette, described him as honest and respectable, noting he had visited them earlier that day on their 46th wedding anniversary. The Prison Officers Association extended condolences, saying Prime gave 18 years of dedicated service. In a Facebook post, they recalled his resilience after a serious accident in 2010 and his bravery during the 2015 prison break, adding his sacrifice will not be forgotten. And according to the TTPS, there have been 112 road traffic fatalities so far this year, compared to 124 for the same period last year. And Opposition Senator Dr. Emery Brown says Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has sealed her legacy as the worst Prime Minister in the nation's history after describing Trinidad and Tobago as a lawless dump.
On his worst day in office, the great Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning would have given this nation far better than Kamla Persad-Bissessar. On his worst day in office, the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley would have given this nation better value than the current Prime Minister.
Well, those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
This is John. John has just opened a new restaurant and is already questioning his life choices. Observe his eyes. He's trying the open wide to stay awake technique. John worries about many things like that overpriced stove, but there's one thing John doesn't stress about: his investments. First Line Securities, helping Trinidad and Tobago invest for almost 2 decades. Invest with us.
Discover Regal Granola. Crunchy, flavorful, bursting with berries, seeds, Regal almonds, walnuts, pecans. High in fiber with real orange juice. Get Regal Granola, the perfect snack for your lunchbox.
Hey, this Christmas, we making sure everyone have a nice time.
Yes, 4 minutes after 7 o'clock. Happy New Year, Trinidad and Tobago. Oh yes, 2026 is going to be, it's going to be tremendous. I guess it's all about perspective, mindset. We are in challenging times, that's the reality, but it's how we approach every day, it's how we approach the year. And I think it starts, as I mentioned earlier, with that personal perspective, really. And, you know, I'm going in seeing the glass half full as opposed to half empty. We're going to get into our economy in review, our year, 2025, the year that was, via the economy in a short while with Mariano Brown. But before that, a quick reminder as to how you could join me on the couch or on the Zoom line for 2026. You're sending an email to tmb@cnc3.co.tt. Really simple, paragraph, put your information, and Nakisha, Amisha, or Angelo, any one of our truly amazing team members, will respond and tell you, hey, so and so time, give you the dress code, you don't wear no blue, right? Well, we'll explain that, they'll explain that to you. And you come through and you sit down and we have a conversation. So looking forward. Let's head to the social media handles, very active. I get lots of my information via our CNC3 Instagram feed, the @CNC3 News, yes. Facebook, very active there too, and X. Well, boy, I tell you, sometimes the comments I just hold my head and ball, you know. People don't hold back. There are so many varying reviews and comments. Actually, really, some people have there's no filter. But hey, listen, that's what the democracy is about, right? People are allowed to express themselves once you don't threaten anybody and try to damage anyone. Because we have seen in real time in 2025, there are serious consequences for that, and I agree. Too long people talking all kind of looseness and figure, well, it's just so? No, don't bring that energy into 2026. There's a price to pay, and I'm happy that the current administration, they are putting a zero tolerance on that kind of behavior. Let's move now to our CNC3 mobile app. Must have your #1 source for verified breaking news, all your favorite content there on demand. I say get it today and stay on top of what's happening. And as per usual, the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Get your New Year's copy as we bring in and usher in a brand new year. It's 108 years in the business. Next year is going to be 109 for the Guardian newspaper. Could you believe? So get your copy and get your subscription so you can enjoy the digital Guardian right there on your smartphone. Let's get our final thought for 2025. And let's read together. Nobody can go back and start a new beginning. But anyone can start today and make a new ending. Let's read one more time. Nobody can go back and start a new beginning. So, you know, going back is kind of impossible, but anyone can start today and make a new ending, project, make something happen going forward. They've always said if there was to build a time machine, the time machine could take us forward because they said the future already exists, just for us to get there. But the past, that portal is closed, so we can't go back because going back will change certain dynamics. People might go back and want to change certain dynamics, which will impact today. So again, that's real Hyman talk, right? I mean, obviously, there's no, scientists argue this all the time, but I remember reading something where they said if they're able to create a portal, the portal could take folks to the future, because they say next week, next year, next 10 years already exists. It's happening. Go figure. I will deal with it now. But it kind of makes some sense, right? In that, really and truly, if you could go back, if there was an ability to go back, would you rather go back or go forward? And that's a question you'll have to answer yourself, you know? Well, let's take the pause. We come back. Mariano Brown, the economy in review. We look back on the year that was 2025. See you soon.
Life. What a wonderful journey we're on. Each stage is unique. And at Tata Life, we not only understand, but also appreciate that you'll have different needs at different times. So trust us to protect you and yours with our comprehensive range of financial planning solutions to ensure that you never, ever have to worry. To learn more, contact a Tata Life advisor or visit tatalife.co.tt today. For the many stages of your life, Tata Life, a member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Ever wonder how the way you start your day can make all the difference? Tired of waking up struggling with congestion? Without Neomed Sinus Rinse, you are likely to battle with nasal congestion, impacting energy levels and overall well-being. The choice is clear. A great morning starts with Neomed Sinus Rinse. Now I can't imagine starting my day without it. All natural sinus relief.
Step into the new year with style and comfort with Jenny's exclusive unbeatable fashions for going back to work at unbelievable prices. Plus all the accessories, Jenny's exclusive, Princesstown, San Fernando, Rio Claro, Gasparilla Mall, and M6 Plaza Chaguanas. Your low price headquarters, JD's.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
Baila, señorita. Merry Christmas.
Welcome back. As promised, economist Mariano Brown joins me for our year in review. We look at the economy through, I would say, strategic lens. We try to really unpack some of the numbers and more so give that forecast going into 2026. Many are suggesting it's uncertainty. Well, it's a time of uncertainty, dismal times, but is there any kind of silver lining in what some might consider a dark cloud? We'll find out from Mariano, who joins us. Let me extend New Year greetings to you, Mariano, you and the family, and thank you so much for our great discourse and conversation in calendar year 2025.
Well, thank you very much for the compliments, and same to you. I hope you and your family do well.
Thank you, Mariano. Appreciate. If the economy had to go to a doctor, Mariano, we had to put the economy on a going for the normal checkup, the annual checkup. What will be our position? Is it that we need surgery? Is it that we in ill health? Is it that we're looking good, we're healthy? Where are we when we look back at everything that transpired in 2025?
Well, there are two key issues. The first one is the health of the energy sector, because that remains the driving force. And it will take us a good 10, 15 years if we start now before we change that. Now, the question is, do we have 10 or 15 years? That's point one. And point two, because of the difficulties in the energy sector, it will affect every other sector. And the primary cause for that transmission mechanism is the foreign exchange mechanism. Prices are, in some instances, depressed. certainly on the oil side. I think notwithstanding all of the shenanigans between Venezuela and elsewhere in the world, the price of oil hasn't moved too far beyond $60. And that has some knock-on effects for the price of natural gas, although that seems to have been strengthening. And that also speaks to the issue of the prices of our main export products, which are petrochemicals. And the real difficulty with petrochemicals is that we have had declining gas output. We are operating at somewhere around 2.5 billion cubic feet per day on a maintainable basis, which is significantly down from 4.2 billion, which was our highest point. So that's a 40-something% decline. So that will affect the operations in the petrochemical sector. And we are a gas economy, not an oil economy. So what matters is the price of gas.
Well, obviously, and I'll let you continue, of course, but you mentioned the shenanigans with Venezuela and obviously the stopping of that deal. Clearly Washington would have played a part, even if there was no regional tension. And we find ourselves now, through the administration, saying that they're looking at new key strategic partners. I'm seeing they're looking towards the Middle East and other parts of the world to conduct business. Could we see any results in that regard anytime soon?
Well, let's put it this way. The critical issue, what would they come to invest in? The critical issue remains the energy sector. That's the one thing that we have that external investors have been interested in. And if you don't have new supplies of gas or additional supplies of gas, then you're not going to get new investment in that particular area. So you're looking at the non-energy sector. And the non-energy sector still as yet has not had the type of attractor principles that we've had in natural gas. So I think that is some way off. And that's why I said that that's a 10 to 15 year, that's a 15-year project in terms of making those transitions for that to happen. So in the short run, and next year is definitely the short run. 2007 is short run. You're talking about 1 to 3 years. We are dependent on what are the changes in the energy sector, in particular in the petrochemical sector and the production of natural gas. And the key point there is that our supplies have been declining. Now, there have been 1 or 2 new developments, certainly with regard to the SIP project, and there are discussions and certainly some sort of announcements with regard to the development of new wells. But we are facing the fact that we are a mature province and we have and control less than 1% of the world's energy resources. So in those circumstances, the prospects are what one would call mediocre. That's point one. And what happens from that addresses immediately what takes place in the rest of the economy, and that has to do with foreign exchange generation. So those two issues have been the two critical issues during the course of the year. They've dominated the headlines, one more so than the next. The foreign exchange issue has been, I would say, more dominant, but the underlying difficulty has been the difficulties within the energy sector.
Well,
and because it's so large, all the other developments take second place.
Interesting. I mean, obviously, the problems that you just mentioned, I'm sure will roll over into 2026. Towards the end, we will look forward to some solutions and recommendations in that regard. But let's just touch on some of the increases. We're looking at the 0.25% levy in terms of the total assets of commercial banks. We're looking at the surcharge on rental income, the one-time registration fee for landlords, the increase in the alcohol, the cigarettes, the customs duty fee. We're seeing lots of increases. Many are suggesting it's to kind of, I guess, recoup the shortfall, to generate funds so that we can keep the economic wheels turning. How are you seeing all these increases through your economic lens?
Well, the increases in indirect taxation and increases in direct taxation have the immediate effect of shortening demand, so that there will be some difficulties where that's concerned in terms of some of the companies that are involved in that particular segment of the market. So, and some instances you will call some of them syntaxes. The syntaxes are the ones which are always likely to go up, and those are the taxes, for example, on what people tend to consume: alcohol, cigarettes, entertainment. Now, in the other areas, let's leave out the fines on cars, on what you call it, on misdemeanors in the traffic sense, traffic fines and so on. Let's leave that out for the time being, because that has been argued that is an attempt to change behaviors, but so is the merit system. So the question is, which one would be has the better effect? And I think yesterday's editorial in Your Guardian, for example, made the point that it needs a combination. So we'll park that aside. The change in the indirect taxes seem more geared towards generating revenue than for changing behaviors, although it could have that effect in the short run. So what we'll see. We don't, those are the kinds of things that economists argue about, but those are really require measurement, not conversation. Right? It means what was the effect what was the imposition this year, and what was the delta coefficient, meaning what were the changes that it generated. And that's what we have to look for. So at the moment, that's a conversation. You can have different opinions. What we need to look at is what the facts are. All right, and then we better understand those facts in the mid-year review, which is due in June. All right, so that in the meantime, we can have all different kinds of opinions, but we really won't know the facts until June. But what matters in terms of other areas, certainly with regard to the landlord's registration and so on, is that it complicates the taxation system. And what you really want to do is to make the taxation system efficient. Now, that's one of those sort of convoluted decisions that are based upon a political positioning. If people are dissatisfied with the property tax, you basically kill the property tax, and you try to put something else in position. But it's cumbersome. And all it does is complicate the issues for inland revenue. Just simply the registration issues. And this is something that has to be, I mean, I haven't seen any details that tell me how they're going to work through it. So I hope they have a plan. But we are all taxpayers. And presumably the people who are landlords, who are unregistered, already have a taxation, a BIR number. So if they're re-registering or they're registering under what rubric? This is a separate taxation methodology, which is in addition to the normal method of taxation that they already use, and then a new registration system has to be put into position, which creates a new administrative difficulty. And then the real issue is not so much the changes in the law; it's the issue of enforcement. And what are the for example, the minister gave no estimates in terms of how many landlords there were that were not registered. We know that they are, under using the property tax system, we know that there are approximately 400,000 what they call hereditaments in the country, which are taxable. All right, now how many of those are rented out? Did he have an estimate? Nothing like that was indicated in the budget. There was no estimates which were given, and therefore we really have no understanding of the size of the market. And what would have been required is, if this was going to be an alternative to property tax, would be some sort of juxtaposition, some sort of measurement, which would tell us the number of taxpayers that would fall in this particular bracket, or the number of taxpayers who are not now included, that will be included in the type of revenues that will accrue therefrom, relative to the kind of expense that we have to go through in terms of the registration system and the follow-up mechanisms. So I don't think that this is a helpful measure. I don't think that was, certainly doesn't make the taxation system any simpler. And then there are all sorts of issues. People have raised the issue with regard to registration, and I think there are many issues where that is concerned. All right, but then there also is transitional issues. So, for example, somebody dies, property is rented. I'm a registered taxpayer. There's no probate. All right. So what happens in the meantime? Tax is levied on whom?
Yeah.
So those are kinds of issues that crop up.
Lots to iron out into the new year. Let me ask you, as it pertains to CARICOM, I know we mentioned foreign exchange earlier on, and outside of the U.S., CARICOM, our biggest trading partner, $1.1 billion in sales in the calendar year. Do you think with some of the utterances and the kind of back and forth, there can be any fallout? Because obviously maintaining that relationship and maintaining business with CARICOM, I would imagine, is of paramount importance.
Well, we've run through different scenarios and different difficulties with CARICOM before. This is just another complication. It's a complication that we could do without, given the difficulties in the energy sector. And sentiment is always difficult to play with. So for example, a good comparison would be the situation between Canada and the US. And what we know now, 20 million people in Canada, 330 million people in the US. But Canada and Mexico are two of its largest trading partners. In fact, their economies are intertwined, particularly with regard to the automobile industry. But what we know is that given everything that has happened between Mr. Trump and the statements made with Canada, there's been a fall-off in demand for American products in Canada. That happens. That's how people behave. All right, we're not happy with what you're saying, and then by definition, so okay, we translate those feelings into economic decisions. And we decide, well, we won't buy American.
Do you think the same could happen with CARICOM?
Of course it can happen, and then this has happened before. All right, this has happened before. We've had different issues with CARICOM from time to time. Trinidad is the largest beneficiary of CARICOM. In fact, it was in our interest. We were the major proponents of CARICOM. We stood the best and most to benefit from it. And the two other countries, or three other countries who probably would have been our competitors, Jamaica, Barbados, and Guyana, in order of size, it would be Jamaica first. But Jamaica's manufacturing sector has been decimated by virtue of the foreign exchange system and decimated by way of the exchange rate system. Jamaica is a classic case in point that we should remember moving forward in terms of the policy measures that we undertake. All right, so it killed their manufacturing sector. All right, so Grace, for example, if you look at anything that you in the supermarket, Grace, which is the brand name for Jamaica, where is it made? Well, it's made in Thailand. It's made somewhere else. It's not manufactured there. It's a label. All right. So that has some implications for us. There are times when, because Trinidad was perceived as having subsidizing export manufacture, largely through cheaper energy prices, that there have been fall off in demand. But we've weathered those storms, and this storm is an unnecessary storm. I mean, this is entirely of our own making. Right? We did not have to get into a fight with CARICOM on this. You can have a difference of opinion with CARICOM with respect to our political stance without having the sort of knock-on effects in the other areas, like saying CARICOM is useless and so on. That was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Mariano, what's the approach for 2026? Seeing that we are going through the symptoms now, it's time to put some recommendations on the table so that we can bring ourselves back to a place of normalcy. Do you see any changes in the short, medium, and long term, Mariano?
Well, the critical issue in the energy sector, and this is Trinidad has to wean itself off of the energy sector. That really is going to be a hard task. And that means that you have to start the effort today. And that has to do with retraining, that has to do with different skill sets, that has to do with a different positioning. And it has to do with redeveloping our manufacture and reorienting our manufacture to higher value-added products. We are a small island, so that we will never be self-sufficient. If we look at Singapore, which is a classic case in point, Singapore is roughly the size of Barbados. It has a population of about 5 million people. All right, a significant portion of the economy, and if you look at its export mix, is on high value-added products. But trade is approximately 3 times GDP. That's important. In other words, everything is imported. But what happens is the value-added component. We're talking about a quality of labor, quality of workforce. That has to do with productivity. That has to do with different types of skills. Trinidad is a long way away from that. And if we have to change that, then we have to start today. And that is a completely different type of mindset, a different sort of orientation in terms of how we address ourselves into the international economy. That has happened only in one or two sectors in Trinidad and Tobago, largely in the what one would call the energy sector, and natural gas in particular. People who operate in natural gas have to be equal to the productivity that happens everywhere else in the world. Now, the difference is that we don't have the same sort of output. We don't have the same sort of gas production as we had before. So there's a limited capacity for that growth. Unless, of course, we have a lot more drilling and there are a few oil finds or gas finds in particular. Now, that's where the relationship with Venezuela gets a little hairy. 2027 is a projection for Lauren Manatee Field. But the Lauren Manatee Field is a shared resource, and that's important. It's a shared resource. 25% of it belongs to us, and 75% of it belongs to Venezuela, roughly in that order. But it's like a reservoir attack. And for me to access my side, every time I draw down out of my side, by definition, the entire reservoir declines. That means that we have to have an agreement with Venezuela with regard to how things happen. Now, when Venezuela says all bets are off, this is not about Dragon. This is about Manatee. It's about Cucina. Those are important issues to come forward. And that's another fight that we also needed to be a little bit, how shall we call it, wiser, more diplomatic in terms of how we address that. Those are issues that are going to come to haunt us 2 years from now. Shell has said nothing. It's been very quiet. Hasn't said anything. They have the final investment decision, which is go. Everything is supposed to be online. Monies have been spent. And Venezuela say, hang on a second, we are not having any agreement with you. What does that mean? Does Trinidad go ahead? What happens if Venezuela disagrees and Venezuela is uncomfortable with that arrangement? What takes place then? Now, those are issues that are to come, and those are difficult issues to come, especially given our foreign exchange situation, and that and the Manatee was meant to be one of the major changes to take place to win some foreign exchange within the medium term. Now, that's a significant issue.
Mariano, as we wrap things up, your message to Trinidad and Tobago going into 2026, especially the citizenry, as it pertains to just their local spend, the personal spend in a time of clearly uncertainty. Your message?
Well, the critical issue is not only a spend. The critical issue is how much our foreign exchange earnings are going to be. And the Chamber of Commerce, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, issued a statement just after Christmas, I think, focusing on the foreign exchange issue. Because your number of dollars you have in Trinidad and Tobago, that's it. But at the same token, since much of what we buy, much of what we consume is imported, what matters is the exchange rate. Now, that's a significant issue moving forward. That's the most significant issue moving forward. And the only thing that consumers can do, you know what your income is finite, so that your choices have to be on the basis of what your priorities are. And I think that's going to be the most significant issue next year. The foreign exchange issue has to be tackled. We can't continue as we are. And the argument that presumes that a certain segment of the market is getting more foreign exchange than the other, that won't pass muster. The reality is that the overall earnings by way of foreign exchange earnings has declined. And in those circumstances, nobody is getting what they want. Right? And everybody is going to try all different kinds of means to get the more than what they could get, or they should get in these circumstances. Now, trying to put administrative and bureaucratic mechanisms in position to solve that issue didn't work in the past. I don't expect them to work in the future. So we're going to have some market-based adjustments. And I make the point, as I started earlier on, that there are lessons from Jamaica in what not to do. So we have to be careful.
Mariano, sincere thanks as always. Let's continue our conversations in 2026, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Mariano Brown, touching base economist. Oh, my goodness, always good to have Mariano with us on the program. Up next, the host of the Morning Shot, my colleague, my friend, Ian Wilson, joins me live for us to do our sport in review. The year that was 2025, some highs and some lows. Ian, up next.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
You can make your goals unfold, go get it. You can live your dream, join the team, let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Brand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Brand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Brand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Parents will do it, they'll go to work, have a day, bro, and come on and take that stress out on you.
Welcome to another episode of Manhood.
Everybody will do what they need to do to get what they want.
And if they can't fit in to the norms, then what do they do? They're surviving.
Not everybody wants to kill me because I might be all kind of thing, but I think I'm a good person.
The aspect of a mentor seeing something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Check yourself because you shape that generation.
Are we losing in many ways the values?
Since I have this Parkinson's diagnosis, there's a group, a very small group, type group, who will always look after me.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
It's Mass Morning. Randy. Wafting. Rosa. Merry Christmas, yeah.
So every Thursday from 7:30, you know Ian steps in for the morning shot, but we brought it a little bit earlier this week as we do our recap of the year that was when we consider sport. And sport is something that is able to bring about a sense of national pride, a lift, a sense of encouragement when you look at your favorite athlete or team go to the top. And sometimes we also go through the extreme lows when we don't get over the line. And it was a year of some highs and some lows. Ian joins me. Happy New Year, Ian.
Yeah, man.
Manners
best, man.
and respect.
All the best.
All the best. I want to start with the football side of things. 2026 is going to be the year of the World Cup. We're looking towards the US, Mexico, and Canada. And unfortunately, Ian, we are not going to be part of the party.
I don't want to say as always because we have only qualified for one World Cup. So personally, this is nothing new to me that we'll be watching a World Cup without Trinidad and Tobago. But for some reason, we had some kind of excitement about this campaign. We thought that we were going to get there because it's like 8 teams from CONCACAF could possibly be there. 3 teams direct qualification without having to deal with Mexico, USA, and Canada. So we thought that, okay, the other teams now could fight up for 3 direct spots and 2 playoff spots. So we thought that, yes, maybe we could make it there, but unfortunately, We didn't get the results that we wanted. And yeah, so it's another World Cup. We have to watch and support our next country.
Yeah, I guess, history for Curacao, their first World Cup berth, and obviously being the smallest country, even smaller than Iceland. So when we made it in 2006, we were the smallest, and Iceland became the smallest some years after. Now Curacao. And I'm saying to myself, who would have thought? Because many looked at that group, and we thought it would have been probably, if not the easiest group ever. I mean, Jamaica would have been the toughest, and they're also going through now their playoff next year in Mexico. So their position is not even set. But me personally, I must say, I was a bit brokenhearted, but I'm still happy that I heard recently Coach Dwight York remains at the helm, and I guess it's a rebuilding phase.
Yeah, but I see the thing is with Curacao, I think we underestimated them because not only that their coach is the legendary Dick Advocat, Curacao is actually a much better team that we give them credit for because I don't know if you would have known Patrick Kluivert, the great Dutch player. His father played for Curacao.
Oh, okay,
back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there's a Dutch connection.
There is a Dutch connection because even so, Patrick Kluivert himself was a coach of Curacao about last 10 years or 15 years ago. He was actually coaching them, and from that time, they continue with their Dutch connection and so forth, and that's why Dick Advocat is the coach. So yeah, they have always been a good team, always been there about a good team, and we underestimated them.
Speaking about the Dutch connection with Curacao, do you think with the grandfather bill we could now tap into a greater pool when we consider the diaspora? Obviously it was just first generation Trinbagonians. Now if your grandmother or grandfather grew up here, our Trinbagonians, you could play for Trinidad and Tobago. You think this could give us a wider scope?
Yes, but we just don't want to just take players from other countries for the sake of taking players from other countries. If it is a player like Levi Colwell or something like that, yes. But remember, we have players, when we look at the English League and we look at the Premier League and the League One and the Championship Division, okay, but they're not going to take players from League 4 or League 3 just for the sake because they're playing outside. When you look at it, the level of football, they might be playing at League 3 or League 4. May not be the same as, or might be lower than the TTPFL or things like that. So you just don't want to, okay, you're just going to take players because he's playing in Europe. You still have to look at the level of football they are playing there.
Yeah, understood. As we wrap things up with the football and transition to cricket in a few, do you feel optimistic going into 2026? I'm seeing that there is some tournament in March in Uzbekistan or someplace there. You think that could help? You're feeling optimistic at all going into the new year with our football?
Yes, because I've said that Dwight York should be given more time. It was very late that he came into this campaign, and for me personally, I would have left Angus Eve because he was already there doing work with the team. When they bring a new coach will have a different system, a different idea, and would use different players. And to do that in the middle of a campaign was, to me, suicidal. Now that you have Dwight York remaining in the job, if he continues in the job to build a team that he would have, then by the next World Cup qualifiers, he would have done all the groundwork, so he would have started on the front foot. Right? But to change a coach in the middle of a campaign, to me, that wasn't the best move.
And as we just wrap things up officially with the football, we have to also wish the women's senior team the best because they get into action very soon for their World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
And they also would have gone through a kind of transition where Angus was there and he didn't even coach one match. He left?
He left because that's a whole bacchanal by itself.
Yeah, well, we can spend one morning there.
A whole bacchanal by
But I want to wish the team, that women's senior team the very best. Let's keep our eyes on them and wish them good wishes. Let's go to the cricket now, Ian, because I know that's one you're very passionate about. Some highs and some extreme lows in 2025.
I think the lowest was 27.
Oh, gosh. That was a shambles.
Hey.
That's schoolboy cricket score, man.
I do not even schoolboy. When I was playing for Malik, we made more than 27, so I can't even say that schoolboy cricket. It was not. It was total. It was total madness. And the thing is, West Indies started the year on a high note. They won their first match, the first Test match in Pakistan in over 30 years. So they started, yes, then new coach, new players, same thing, new coach, new players, new system. And we haven't won a test match since. We have played 8 test matches and lost 7. So that was total madness. But again, just like Dwight York, we want to give Sammy the benefit of the doubt, give him more time.
You still want to give him more time? Because, I mean, clearly, you know, I mean, no disrespect to Sammy, great guy, you know, he's done well for himself and St. Lucia over the years, but I'm thinking there must be some kind of change because clearly.
It's like this. Darren Sammy, in an interview with him, he told me that the goal is to win the next World Test Championship cycle, not this one. So he's using this one to rebuild. So you saw that he brought back Shea Hope, who has been our best test batsman since he came back, with 200s back-to-back. So he's building. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of test cricket. But I'll be a little more hard on him in the white ball version. We have a World Cup coming up next month. Well, not next month, in February. We should have... Our T20 should be our best format, and we should be somewhere along in that regard. Right? We made changes there. We removed Rovman Powell as as the T20 captain for some reason. To me, that was not a good choice. He was doing quite well. We put Shea Hope there. We made a lot of changes. I'm not seeing Shimron Hetmeyer in the team. I'm not seeing Evan Lewis in the team. But these things should be fixed. And I think that when it comes to T20 cricket, we should be further along than we are. We only won 25% of our matches in 2025, which is very poor.
And the thing is, there's such a great pool of talent. We have seen our cricketers excel on the world stage for their club teams. But sometimes we don't get the mix and the balance correct when it comes to the West Indies outfit.
That's true, and to me, it might also has to do with a lot of the self-motivation by the players. A lot of players use West Indies and West Indies cricket as a stepping stone for IPL and those money tournaments.
Because that's the more lucrative side of the game.
Exactly, but it shouldn't be like that because I'll always make this comparison to football and other sports. In any other sport, you don't make your living from playing with the national team. Always with the club team. Messi, he doesn't get the kind of money with Argentina that he gets with Inter Miami or Barcelona before. Ronaldo doesn't make the kind of money from playing with Portugal that what he makes in Saudi Arabia and with Real Madrid and those things before. So in all sports, playing for your national team is a different drive. It's the motivation of representing your family, your friends, your neighbors, your schoolmates, your country.
Sense of pride.
Sense of pride. That cannot be compared with playing for big money with a team. So it shouldn't be comparable.
So you're calling for more sense of pride, really, when it comes to
It's that because Viv Richards, Brian Lara, Frank Worrell, and these guys didn't make that kind of money playing for West. In fact, the current players now have it better than those guys.
Oh, for sure, definitely. But you see, I wonder when we look at Test. Because I'm watching the game the other day with Australia and England out there in Australia. And all up in the nosebleed, Ian. Top tier, 4 tier up in a stadium. Ram to capacity. And my goodness, you can't even get probably 100 people to watch a test match. And this is so different compared to when I was growing up in the 80s when my mom would take me to the Oval. You couldn't get a ticket, you couldn't get a seat. Is it that
test match?
For test match. Is it that we're too busy? Is it that it's social media? I feel sometimes the pride is not there because there is no turnout, really. People only come out to watch CPL, you know.
Exactly.
The biggest party in sport.
But even so, right?
Is it a marketing issue? What do you feel it is?
Well, that's part of it. But even with our World Cup qualifiers, football, the big crowds would not come out at the early stage when we play in Grenada and St. Vincent and those teams. The big crowds like to come out at the last stage where we play in USAs and the Mexicos. Cricket is the same way. People wouldn't come out and support West Indies when they are going to lose in 4 days and 3 days or when they're going to lose. The days when you were talking about in the 80s and 90s, we were winning. We had Ambrose Walsh, we had Lara, and who could have pulled crowd. How much people you would hear are going in the Oval to watch John Campbell bat.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I guess it's a result. It's a result-driven game.
And the players to pull power. The last crowd puller could have had in cricket was Chris Gayle.
Yeah, Chris Gayle.
Pollard, Puran. You would hear people say they're leaving the house to go to watch Puran bat, Gayle bat. But
brand names.
The only person who I think could pull a crowd now is Shehu.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, we're having a frank, open discussion, really, on the year that was. Let's go to some of the high notes now. Obviously, we must put our Sportsman of the Year, Kishon, in focus, and Jareem the Dream for bringing home some silverware in the World Champs.
Yeah, that was. I remember I was sitting on this chair, your chair.
Yes.
When I was
this is your chair because it's his morning shot.
Yeah, only for one day.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on that chair. I was keeping everybody up to date during the show, and he won the gold medal during the morning shot.
Wow.
Yes,
with the javelin.
Yeah. The javelin.
Look at it, man.
That was.
Look, and you know, he's been in the vineyards toiling. He obviously would have been out there for quite a while and did not get the result that many would have expected. And I'm so happy that the hard work was able to pay off in Japan.
Yeah, and what I like about this, what was special for me about this is that the length of time, the space from his gold medal in the Olympics to this medal now, it's over about a decade. So that shows, as you mentioned, now a decade of working hard, this stick-to-itiveness that he had. So it really paid off. And Jeremy Richards too, his medal too, because I remember in the Olympics, remember when he just missed the medal? Yeah, when he talked after, you could have cried for him.
Yeah, could have cried because he was that close.
Yeah.
Fourth place, I remember. He didn't get on the podium.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he was able to get through this time. He got through. He GT.
But there's something with Botswana right now, Ian, boy. Like the 400 Botswana and their program seems to be cut above, boy.
They have been doing quite well.
I never heard Botswana name calling no 400 meters over the years.
Yeah, they haven't, but they have been doing quite well.
Yeah,
and it shows that each country can do well. They can break out from their tradition, because we haven't, since Kishon Walcott won the gold medal in the Olympics over a decade ago, we have seen a Grenadian won it, we have seen an Indian won it. So the Europeans, like the Germans, the Polish, those guys are not dominating javelin anymore. We have all kind of people from different countries winning that now, and this is what you are seeing. You are not even seeing the Kenyans dominating the 1,600 meters and the 3,000 meters and thing again. You are seeing Europeans winning it now. So I like what I'm seeing here with the track and field.
Did you like what transpired for Carifta, the juniors, the future, those with the potential to be world greats? Any standout performances?
Yeah. O'Shea Cummins, a girl from Tobago, she won 2 medals. She won a medal in the under 17 and in the under 20, and she wasn't even 15 yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's prolific.
I spoke with her last year during the national championships, national junior championships, and when I found out her age, she was like, okay. All right. So she has a lot of years at this junior level to dominate, and she can even start to dominate the seniors while being a junior.
What is the catalyst to get someone over the line? Because we always hear of certain names calling very good at the youth level, but it takes an extra step, I would imagine, to level up when we go to seniors, and sometimes a name will call and then the name fades to black. What can be done for the continuity for that potential that you just mentioned to truly blossom?
Well, you see, coaching, you have to have good coaching, but you must have that drive, that inner drive. You must be self-motivated. There are athletes, I can remember talking with former basketballers, Conrad James, people like Richard Monroe, who would have been part of this country's best basketball team in the past. Conrad told me that he would get up before he goes to work. He would take 300 shots. After work, go back on the basketball court again and take 300 shots again. Mongo would have done the same thing. And these you didn't need a coach to tell you to do that. They didn't wait on a coach to tell them to do that. They were self-motivated. They know what they wanted to do, what they wanted to achieve, where they want to be. and they were self-motivated. I think our athletes need to be self-motivated as well. Cricketers, I've heard stories of Shanda Paul and Lara. They would have been going to the nets. They would pay people to bowl at them whole day. That's why these guys had the tenacity to bat whole day, bat long. You need that. You didn't need the coach to tell you to do that.
The endurance.
The endurance.
Let's look at the world stage and the endurance of some of the greats who are still active. Cristiano Ronaldo at 40, Lionel Messi close to 40, and LeBron James on the basketball side, who is
about 40 as well.
40 plus. Still very much active. Obviously not the peak level they would have been, but these men are still able to perform and grab the world attention. You anticipate they're going to still be active in 2026. And on the Messi and Ronaldo side, do you think they could make any kind of impact in the World Cup?
Based on what I'm seeing, they are still very much top quality players. I know for sure that their teams do not depend on them as much as they did 4 years ago, which is a good sign for the team. I mean, it's always good to see an Argentina team not depending on Messi, leaning more on players like Enzo Fernandez and these guys. And of course, the same with Portugal, depending more on Bruno Fernandes and these guys, not necessarily depending on these two. So it would be good for them, where they may not have to work hard as hard. They can, I don't want to say their teams would carry them because they are still top quality players. They will still have a big role to play. But I think that once the balance is there, both Argentina and Portugal can do well at the World Cup.
I looked at LeBron when they lost on Christmas night at the LA Lakers home grounds there in Los Angeles, and even though LeBron still very much active and stuff, I don't know. You think LeBron could be a catalyst to take them over the line? They could even make a playoffs this time around?
Well, that is a very difficult one, but see, basketball is a whole different, it's up and down. You know, in football, there still are some slow moments, sometimes some walking pace.
High intensity.
High, but basketball is up and down, pace. That's very difficult to upkeep. But again, he needs the support of the team. I've never seen a one-man team win anything. Jordan had Pippen. He had Rodman. He had those guys. So he needs the support of the other players. The other players need to step up.
As we wrap things up, Ian, just your wishes for the nation, for the sporting community going into 2026, man. It's all yours.
Well, all right. We have the World Cup coming up next year. We have 2 World Cups, actually. The Senior World Cup, the T20 World Cup for the West Indies men. Hopefully that they can do well. The under 19 World Cup, that we have one pick on that team, Eden Racha. He's on that team. Hope that they can do well. Well, for the World Cup, we are not there. But hope your favorite team wins. The Brazils, the Argentinas, the Englands. Hopefully Italy will make it. Italy have missed the last 2 World Cups. Hopefully Italy will be at this World Cup.
It's going to be an interesting one in sport. I'm looking forward to that World Cup. I hope there's no controversy, no instance of drama happening off the pitch that will mar what's going to happen on the pitch, because we know in terms of the climate and travel and all that bacchanal. But nonetheless, whatever takes place, Ian and the team at the sports desk will be on top of all your major developments for 2026. Ian, Happy New Year, my brother.
Yeah, man. You too, man. All the best, man. All the best.
That's right. We come back and officially pull the curtains down after this. See you soon.
For the Christmas jam session. She said, I went by Scrunta, then
Deck the halls with kaleidoscope colors, fa la 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 la. Fill your home with joy and wonder, fa la 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 la.
Celebrate the season with over $40,000 in furniture and groceries from Kaleidoscope Paints. All you do is deck your halls in Kaleidoscope colors and win. This Christmas, choose Kaleidoscope premium quality paints every time.
Check social media for details.
Whoa. Please, what do you think about the PNM in opposition?
Now, opposition is a force. So if the opposition
opposes our next opposition. Is it really our opposition? Do you think Barry will be able to give water to all? Okay, for that question, tune in to the rundown on CNC3. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Yeah. All right?
We're going.
Are we doing people's work?
Yeah, where?
No, the people's work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
no, it's done on CNC3.
Squanta boy, I'm coming up Grandy. I hope you prepare some wild meat for me. Well, skatey pal.
I want to wish a Happy New Year to the entire team that makes this product possible. Our producer, Nikisha, Amisha, part of the production team, everyone there who, regardless of how we feel, regardless of the weather, we get up every morning early, we come out to bring the news to the nation. On a personal note, I obviously want to get a little more active next year, get back into my fitness routine, and just try to, stay positive, with thought and mind and spirit, and project that on the nation, because the potential is always there for greatness. Have a great one, TNT. Happy New Year to Trinidad and Tobago and the wider world, to my family, and to everyone here at CNC3. Thank you so much for the support in 2025, and there is much more to do in 2026. Happy New Year, TNT.
The Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.